Hey sparklers, we are live. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for the fun that we've been having with just kind of loving on each other, sharing, talking through the fall self-care event videos, just for the opportunity to grow more disruptively whole together, to hashtag spark life. So tonight's video is about magic silk. And you know, some part of me just like really hesitated to even call it that because it sounds so chintzy, it sounds like it's so woo-woo. But let me kind of explain. There's nothing like sharing our stories and then all of a sudden a person goes, so when I was in Cape Town, some of you already know from previous videos and from the lymph pump exercise videos that we just posted, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. So if you need to decompress from your week, go back to that. Had some people messaging and saying that it actually did a lot to help them decompress, so check it out. It's easy, it takes 15 minutes, easy to do. But you know, when I was in Cape Town, I'd just gotten diagnosed with Lyme, and I didn't know what that meant for me yet. Because typically it's supposed to be fixed in 2 weeks with antibiotics, and because we didn't know what we'd been trying to fix, we did a lot of antibiotics, a lot of different kinds for a lot of different periods of time. And every time I did and I quit, I'd gotten worse and just kind of rocked back and forth and back and forth. And so right before I left for Cape Town, I basically fled to the other side of the planet, get as far away from scary stuff as possible, find myself, step back into myself, take ownership and agency of my own life again. Please, can I just go back to the last time I was happy? And I found myself on the other side of the planet, about as far as you can. And so while I was over there, I ended up relapsing really badly with Lyme, partly just because I didn't really know much about it or myself with it yet. And that made it kind of a new sort of adventure, if you will. There was a lot I learned about myself while I was over there, and there was a lot that was stripped away and rebuilt, the foundation for something else growing back better. And I had an amazing roommate, learned a ton from her. She was also from the States, but she kind of had her own model crew, and so I found myself clinging to the people who were my saviors while I was over there, these healers. And I learned so much from them. They were my gang. And, you know, there was Priya, and she was an acupuncturist. She's a firecracker. She's just really incredible. And she went into acupuncture because she wanted to be like so precise with the way that she executed things for people. She is the one who, she would actually go once or twice a week to the mountain springs and bring back fresh mountain spring water to put in her yoga studio, or in her acupuncture studio rather. Just really incredible. So when you see the reference to bathing and fresh mountain springs in the quiz, in the self-care quiz on the website, that's her. She kind of inspired that, because that was very much kind of what she did. And we got to drink that water while we were in her studio, and it tasted so good. It's incredible. And there was Kathy. And I would go to her for shiatsu, and there were a lot of different modalities that she pulled from, partly because she used to teach energy work. She was a teacher for, I want to say 20 years, I'm not sure. But my first introduction to face yoga and how to like pull that up, and her talking about, you know, certain meridians that you can use so that you don't get jet lag as badly and miss your flight on the way home, because like I had a 16-hour flight home and then a 14-and-a-half-hour layover in New York, and I was so jet lagged and tired, but I stayed awake. It worked. So cool. I'll have to teach you how to do that sometime. But she also had other side hustles, and what she really wanted to do besides like fix people, she wanted to design. She had some stripper friends and definitely designed clothes for them. She designed wedding dresses. She made clothes. silks and lace and so many beautiful things that were sculptural in the feminine form, and her understanding of moving energy. There really aren't any words if you haven't experienced it for yourself. Just a really fascinating, gifted individual. And then there's Nadia. And nobody stateside would have called her this. She was a hairdresser. She was a healer. And everybody there believed she was as well. You have to understand that over there they believe that if you get sick, something bad happens, kind of like it did to me, it means that you've missed your calling. If you've gotten sick and you need healing, you might be called to be a healer. It's really fascinating to me because we're 1 in 6 Americans right now are struggling through some white label, and there are 80 of them or more, white label autoimmune-ish diseases going on. 1 in 6 Americans, men, women, doesn't matter. I'm wondering how many of us are called to be healers, and we just don't have any clue. And what does that mean? And will I let my bias tell me that no, I'm not, and I do not accept the call? But Nadia was just super special. She would let me come and sit in her hair salon during the week in between castings when I just needed to have a break and rest or just be around people. And we went hiking together for Table Mountain and I'd house sit for her, took care of her cats, watered the plants. She gave me a farewell dinner right before I left. She used to say, I hold on to nothing and I reject nothing in my life. What's meant to go, I'll hurt myself if I hold on to it. And if something's meant to come into my life and I reject it, haven't I hurt myself? Which is just a really strange perspective because so often I'm so guarded. Because I think a lot of us are fearful. And instead of making friends with the fear, wondering what it's trying to teach us, wondering what it's protecting us from, holding that in our hands, healing the fear so that it matures to the same age that we are. And often even watching it transform into something else. Like discouragement and disheartenment can turn into valor. What if blindness can turn into being from not seeing the evil in others because it's too painful, just seeing people through the lens of the great I am, their good and their bad, and choosing to love them just the same. I don't think most of us know how to do that, but it seems like a lot of us are called. But one of the cool things about Nadia in her hair studio, in that giant compound where, where the yoga studios and the Reiki studios and the art galleries and the Ayurvedic cookers. Oh my God, not cookers, that's not a real word, but they cooked for us every single day, like the split grain salads and the fresh juices, and of course Priya's studio was there, and like this big giant wide open courtyard in the middle and these giant wrought iron gates outside. It was a little bit rougher neighborhood, but on the inside it was heaven on earth. It was so cool. And Nadia had these hanging moss baskets with lemon trees in them. Dwarf lemon trees. She's like, well, you can do that. Plants will grow anywhere. If you're ever hungry in the States, just plant them up the wall of your house. You'll never go hungry. Just this free spirit, because anybody who was there, you have to understand what they'd survived. And that every single day was a gift. and life flowed through and was present in full force in their lives. And so, Priya prepping me to go back home to the States, just Tai Chi. You need Tai Chi. This is yours. Do this when you get home. And she specifically told me to do 2 different kinds. Your normal Tai Chi, whatever that is, I don't know. And the other one's more like playful and animals, kind of like be a bunny, be a tiger. I don't know. I still haven't seen it yet, but she needed it because she would get way too serious, and this helped keep her personality in balance. I know I need that with my Enneagram 3. Like, I get way too like a workhorse, and then I break my own back. Could use a little bit more play. Something feisty, something flirty, something like a little kid, right? It's all good. You need multiple food groups of food. Might as well have multiple food groups of other things too. And then Kathy had told me, and this was just so weird, because Kathy was like, I don't know, she's like one of the ancients. I'm telling you, like, I didn't know how old this lady was, because like she did like this face yoga stuff. And she taught for so bloody long. Like, the wisdom in this lady is crazy. And she's like, go home and you're gonna carry rocks in your pocket. And she told me where to go to get them before I left. And when you get home, you're gonna get some silk. You don't need much, and you're going to make sure that it touches your skin, and you're gonna wear it. It's magical. That's all she told me. You go, what is this witchcraft? Ah! And so, I figured, well, okay, I trust them. I trust them. I'm not judgmental here. I trust them. I love them. And I was so excited because when I came back home, I was going to figure out how to do Tai Chi. Texas, they don't really have that here. I got sucked into being a workhorse again and hadn't learned my lesson. But a couple of years later, it's when I met Holly, and we hit it off, and she has this like sage kind of old soul, adventuresome spirit. I know a bunch of you know her, and you understand what I'm talking about. And so I begged her to be my silk person so that I could have some silk, and so that you could too. And here is what some of her silk looks like if she's making it for you. And then of course she custom dyes it. She creates her own dyes, you guys. Like, it's not like we just buy scrunchies and maybe submerge them. Like, no, she is a fiber artist. And so this is some of the fiber that we work with. It's really, really cool. But back to the magic of silk, and you go, well, what is that, right? And there is so much that we just don't understand about the universe, and so much that has been labeled as heresy or witchcraft. And I'm not saying that none of that exists. I'm just saying that because in the past I have been afraid, I have preferred not to step into my own mind, have agency of your own thinking, be curious, like Brene Brown talks about, be willing to rumble a little bit. Figure this out, engage. You have a choice, you don't have to believe anything. Are we so weak-minded that we can't engage with love? I'm still figuring out the balance on that. But you start looking at silk, and of course, like from my own healing journey, we had to turn to energy medicine, because what else is there for Lyme? Chronic Lyme doesn't exist. So whatever you can do to get the relief that you need. And I started realizing that there's more literal, universal, natural law employed than we've given things credit for in the past. And that's partly true with silk. It's so cool because, sorry, I'm out of breath. One of the Lyme symptoms. Give me just 2 seconds, guys. I'm so sorry. Better. I think we're better. Thank you for that. So, with silk, it's kind of interesting because, you know, there were a lot of websites that I found really scary when I started trying to do my own digging and research. What did Kathy mean? And, you know, two of the things that made sense to me straight out of the gate were, you know, you look at caterpillars, like chrysalises, and of course, silk comes from the surroundings of basically a squirming thing that turns itself into goo and then sprouts wings like a butterfly and floats away, right? And what scientists believe is that these worms, while they're in this metamorphosis stage, are so sensitive to the external environment, whether it's forms of EMF, which, I mean, of course, we have even more of today with cell phones and towers and satellites, and we know that the actual vibrational frequency of the Earth has shifted, and that the Earth is like wobbling even more on its axis. It's shifted like, I think it's 1/2 degree over the last few years. Whatever the case, even the sun in and of itself has radiation. And so these things that we don't normally think that we see with our eyes, the thing around the silk around the worm protects it somehow until it can get out of its baking goo stage. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then I started looking at websites that talk about like the frequency of fabric. And, you know, like linen, apparently, if you'll wear linen, it causes your body's energy to spin the right direction. I've been to an acupuncturist before who put, you know, like, this is your great eliminator point here in your thumb. Like, I think to like sinuses, but other spots, like drains the toxins. They do that in like a big spot in like your foot. And they basically like put jumper cables on your body. It's like a long string, and it's got like a bead in the middle, and that bead helps make sure that the energy goes one way but not the other way. Don't ask me how they do it, but it works. And so they go across the body one way, they take them off after a while, they switch it the other way, and it has to make sure it's the right direction or else, right? But it really works because our bodies literally spin from left to right, in the northern hemisphere anyway. I'm not sure about southern hemisphere, but I do know that the toilets spin the other direction. Really cool. So the direction that our cells spin even, and if they are spinning well, isn't even an indicator on the molecular level. It's really neat. So linen helps your bodies speed up, but it's interesting because if you actually if you combine it with a certain kind of cotton, or is it any cotton, it'll like stop. It won't work. So there's stuff even with the fabric and the textiles that we harvest when they touch our skin that we're not even aware that we're doing to ourselves. Just because we're so focused being workhorses all the time, or we're overwhelmed or anxious. And so I think it's really fascinating. But with silk, I was really confused because they were saying that it doesn't have a frequency, and I'm going, huh? And as I started thinking about it, they were saying that like some yogis or monks, like they'll take vows of poverty, and they basically have to beg for a living. Like if they're going to eat, if their God is going to take care of, alms for the poor, right? And their clothes reflect it, of course, but there are other parts of the world where yogis will dress more like a swami in really nice silk. And, you know, you might not believe that EMF is an important thing to think of for health, but if you talk about your biology's unique DNA and your own strength of frequency, okay, here's just a quick example. So, most people's frequencies are probably in the 60s. High frequency people have a tendency to be in the 70s. These people think faster, they're more in tuned, their ideas kind of make our brains go. you know, kind of that type of thing. Um, but you get cancer when your body's frequency gets near 40. And death occurs when our body's frequency reaches near 20, right? And this is science, guys. Like, if somebody has DNA strand, they can measure your DNA frequency and use a satellite and go, hi, we see you. Like, this is real science, and it's so cool, and it's so real. And did you realize that because your body runs off of this electricity that follows along the soft tissues of your body, the stuff in between the ligaments and the organs and stuff, like we ooze electricity, and each one is its own flavor. It's so cool. So when you wear silk, it's kind of like, this is probably the worst example ever, but I feel like it's sort of like a tiled bathroom when you walk in and it's like, and it goes echo, 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 and you want to do it again and the kids are driving you crazy and they won't shut up, but it's like so cool, right? So our bodies on the inside, because we've got this frequency going, and you want to, the stronger it gets, the more that the bad guys can't survive, like bacteria and fungus and stuff that you don't want to get too strong, right? Like, we live in homeostasis with it, but sometimes it gets too strong and then we get sick. That stuff, it doesn't thrive in high frequency bodies. And you can think clearer because that's right. Each person's brain has a unique thumbprint or brainwave signature that you can measure. It's so intensely cool. And so silk and silk charmeuse, like what Holly is making for us, I can't believe that we get to work with real fiber artists. I'm just so happy, you guys. What she works with, it actually breathes. So it doesn't just protect from things on the outside, just like the caterpillars, but it also amplifies the stuff on the inside, and it still allows our body to continue exchanging that air so that we can have what we need to not be too uncomfortable while being just so incredibly light. It's just really, really cool. So that's a big, big part of the magic of silk. And on the molecular level, and thank you, Holly. Oh, I see you, girl. Hey. She's the one who figured this out because she's so nerdy. I love it. It makes me so happy. She found out that what happens with silk, and part of why there are religious groups that will wear it when they're actually like observing certain ceremonies, is that it absorbs negative ions out of the air. And for those of you who might not be so familiar, or maybe you get it backwards or whatever, when you go to the mountains and you feel really good, or for those of us who are beach bunnies, that's me. Like, please take me to the ocean. Like, I will never be sick again. Like, just let me live on the ocean. That's negative ions. Whether it's rolling up off the tides or coming up of the mountains, that is negative ions. And our bodies crave that because it tends to disable anything that's not good, and it tends to sort of make, I hate to say heal, but kind of anything that's fixed or anything that's broken and needs to be fixed. So negative ions are really good for people, and silk naturally absorbs it out of the air because we're constantly surrounded by it, just not as strong everywhere else on the planet, right? And when it touches your skin and rustles past you, you absorb the negative ions from the silk that the silk has pulled out of the air. So it kind of becomes your surrogate, which is so cool. And of course, it's just super luxurious and makes you feel like girly and like fancy and sumptuous. And it's like an all-around experience. So anyway, I will wrap this up because I have a low battery and I know you guys have things to do tonight. But thank you for letting me share with you a little bit about the magic of silk. We have a little bit of business to take care of. We have dum-ba-da-dum. Okay, we have prizes. This is the first one of many prizes. So let's review. We have pumpkin spice autumn detox masks to give away. We have silk scrunchies to give away. We're giving one away tonight. We have a 3-part set, which is the winter glow kit from the Holistic Beauty Bar. We've got contact sponges and body soap. It's so exciting. So tonight, drum roll please. Legally Stylish from Kentucky. You have won yourself a purple flame scrunchie from False Holly. So if you will send us a DM we will make sure that we get your address and send it to you ASAP. I am so excited. This is gonna be really, really fun. Okay, but remember, there's still time to enter. For those of you who have not entered yet, you can go back to the curated feed. You're gonna see bunny scrunchies in 3 different colors. This one's coal liner. So cute. Sorry, I just love them. They make me happy. And you can go there and you can look at the instructions. It's so easy to apply. It's not even funny. Or if you want more cozy points, you can share this video and tag myself at Eastgroup by Courtney and tag False Holly Atelier. That way we're sure to count your cozy points towards an additional entry. And tomorrow night, not only are we giving away the grand prize, but we're gonna give away like spontaneous prizes, but you have to be on to actually dialogue with us a little bit. So tomorrow night, be there or be square. No, don't be square. We love you. We wouldn't say that. But do be there because we want to give away so much stuff. It's not even funny. And just to make sure that we do that when we hang up the phone here in just a quick moment, would you please mind going and click that alert button so that you get the reminder when we go live. You go, hey, we're right here, it's giveaway time, and we can be sure to make sure that we ask questions that include you so that you get at least 1 prize when you walk away. That's our goal. Anybody watching needs to get something, so we want to send you home with at least 1 thing tomorrow night. All right, you guys, I am out of breath. I'm almost out of battery, but I am elated that I got to chat with you guys. So have a wonderful Friday night, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.